games, Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, with 10 things we hate about Blair Witch 2016. Hopefully you will have watched the 10 things we love, so you'll have already seen that there is a lot of hate for this movie. I think it's the worst of the Blair Witch movies. I think it's worse than Book of Shadows, simply because it's lazy as fuck. We will get into more of that as we go to each point. But yeah, I hate this movie. It's one of the worst. In fact, I'll dive straight in then with the very first one, which is simply put, the biggest one of all for me. It's the lack of learning. I fucking hate this movie more than anything because of how little it learned. How little it bothered to look at what had come before in all the previous found footage movies that have been up to date. The lot of them that we've had since the arrival of Paranormal Activity, and that's insane success. The terrible ones, the good ones, not sitting there and going, you know what works, what doesn't, what do audiences like, but also presuming that because you attached the Blair Witch to it, that people would come fucking running, regardless of the fact it was just another found footage horror. Another found footage set in the fucking wood where things go bump in the fucking night. Be like, no. It's Blair Witch, so people will love it. And they didn't. And damn you for fucking thinking it was the case. But fuck you more than anything, for not looking at what had come before, not even looking back at the movie in 1999 and thinking, what did that do right and what did that do wrong? Instead of just looking at it and going, that was really successful. Let's just do that again. Fucking hell.
So we've got the same one. I put the fact they disregarded the original fan base to make this absolute dog shit just to get people in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found that really just insulting.
Yep. And the following it up directly into the next one, found footage, 2016 found footage. It's never going away. I've come to accept that it's never going to go away because people. It's a cheap way to make a movie. It's a very cheap way to make a movie. Now what we actually are getting is a different side to found footage, which is a lot of indie developers, indie directors and creators using that format simply because it's very, very cheap. And it doesn't always work. Every so often, you will find a gem amongst them. But here's the problem. It's like you have to treat it differently because it's found footage, because you automatically expect certain things from it. And it's like, oh, you didn't make me throw up through shaky camera work. You didn't switch the lights off for 10 minutes where I couldn't see anything but my own reflection in the screen. Well done you, as if that's fucking praiseworthy, but that's what you've come to expect. So then the 2016, for them to go, yeah, that's played out. That is played out. That has been played out. Paranormal Activity has slowly been, profits been dropping and dropping film by film by film, but we can do that. So we'll do found footage as well, because we don't want to not do found footage because the original was found footage and Book of Shadows was not found footage and people might relate the two. So, if your movie is fucking good and it's not found footage and it's just a movie, we'll quickly forget and we'll praise that. But instead you go, well, the first one was found footage and people love that. In 1999!
So I put a link to that. Shaky, unwatchable, called tropes. So that whole thing of people running through the woods, shouting each other's names in the dark.
You know the worst point I'll never forget is the worst point of it is the character. I can't remember his name, Michael or someone, who gets crushed under a tree. The build up to that is near darkness, can't see anything. Then you just see a tree kind of fall on him. Then it's still another minute or two of him struggling underneath it, and you can't see fucking anything. Whose idea is like, that's fun. That's fun. That's a good watch. People really enjoy seeing that. Bastards. We doubled up, so I'll go again. Jump scares. Oh, does this movie love a jump scare? So, jump scares, found footage go together, of course, but Blair Witch really, really, really wanted to do jump scares, so much so that, a little bit of truth, the director, to try and get an accurate portrayal, would sound an air horn when the jump scare was supposed to happen to make the actors react to that. That sounds like fun, doesn't it? But yeah, this movie, whoo! If you love things jumping out on you, including everyone's favourite. What's that in the woods? Super sneaky ninja friend up behind, hand on the shoulder, that stuff. Ridiculous. You know? Tent shooting up in the fucking air. Just jump scares. Jump fucking scares.
Ridiculously.
There's so many of them. It's so jump scare heavy.
I put, it's a really big one, wasted opportunity. What they could have done with the like we said, I mentioned in the love video, like the time loop, like different dimensions. Why couldn't you have one with the original serial killer? You could have gone into that part of the aspect of it, gone back to like a grainy style of filming, gone for a different realm where the woods is when he's there.
Ooh, nice.
I mean, like, you could have had a real kind of creep factor of going from realm to realm. These people could have gone back into that realm. You could have had the people actually watching Heather and Nap from the first film. You could have gone so many routes, you know? And that's what's the most frustrating thing is, like, no one said, oh, don't remake Blair Witch. Just give us something fresh. So, I don't know if we doubled up on that one.
Not so much on that. You make some interesting points. And quite kind of a cool idea. I like the idea of the time jumps actually being time jumps, where perhaps you see elements of the past, what we've often been referenced in stories. And this isn't a remake. You said this was a remake. It's not a remake. It's a sequel.
Sorry, sequel. But like make another film with the Blair Witch name. Sorry.
Mine is simply, and it's what I complain about in Book of Shadows, and it's what I complain about here. You have this lore. Why can't you build on it? What is wrong with your inability? The only thing this builds on is what was already told in the first. What? Build on this fucking lore. Yeah. Build on this history. Instead, we hear the same story again about Rust and Pa and standing in the corner. Oh, and they killed a witch and all this kind of thing. It's like, build on that. Go further, deeper, more horrific. Instead, you just tell us the same stuff again. Whoop-de-fucking do. Yeah.
Yeah. The horrible characters. Mm-hmm. And in particular, how rude some of them are to the locals.
Yep.
Just that there was no need for that behaviour. And in a situation where you don't know these people and where they're leading you, you wouldn't trust these people, but you wouldn't also be dicks to them. So,
right.
Yeah, big one.
Yes, here we go. Yeah. I have it as well. Shit characters and shit behaviours. You know what the point is when it went? I just went, no, this is fucking bollocks. Right, characters are shit. They try to build something by doing the same thing where they're in a motel room at the start. Apparently they filmed loads of footage for that, but then didn't use a lot of it. But that's it, and then we're in the woods. So the locals, which is Lane and Talia, they believe the Blair Witch stuff and are telling this, right? And one of the characters outright laughs at them, which annoys the piss out of me. It's so disrespectful. It's so, you just don't have the biggest problem was for me that's bad, because I think the character is supposed to be of a dickhead anyway, so fine. But the main character, Heather's brother, laughs as well.
Yeah.
The fuck? Yeah. You're there to find your sister, hopefully. You've been sent a videotape that suggests she might be alive. That's some supernatural shit. And you're going to go, look at these two fucking local idiots. You know? And that was it. And that's it. That's about as deep as we fucking get with these characters.
And they still act as your guides as well. And like
we're supposed to give a shit about them when things go wrong.
Yeah.
Couldn't have cared less about any of these. You know, I don't think the Blair Witch Project did brilliant on that front, but it was better than this. Yeah. Good God, they're the worst kind of people. They're just horrible people.
Yeah.
You know, someone hurts her foot, cuts her foot very early on. Let's carry on. You're trekking through the forest.
Yeah.
That is go back. You go back. You know what? Don't need all of us here. You're a couple. Head back together.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be any good.
I think linking in, like I say, linking into that as well is like another hate is just the unpreparedness and the fact that most normal people wouldn't do this kind of trek. Like, I don't know how to orienteer, campus work. I wouldn't go into a forest that's very, very thick and dense with such a past, such a history, unprepared.
Yep.
No flares. Like, there's no flares, there's no backup plans to things that always go wrong in the forest. You could have hired a guide that knows the forest. All these little things that were made a bit more accurate, like, oh, we've got this guy to come help us. He knows the forest. We're going with him.
Yep.
There's none of that. And it's like, oh, am I really supposed to believe that people, grown adults, would act this stupid? That annoys me.
Yeah. And we should touch as well on those characters things as well. I don't really get the early point when we meet Lane and Talia. So we meet them. They don't know them. They meet them, and they're in a kind of a southern-esque house where there's a southern flag on the wall. And the black character, I can't remember his name, is a bit uncomfortable. And I think that's probably why he doesn't like Lane.
Yeah.
But at no point is that ever developed upon.
Yeah.
Like, that's an area where, like, okay, I would make it so that Lane is a little bit racist.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit racist. He perhaps says slight things where he knows he shouldn't be, but they slip out. Maybe refers to him as boy or something like that. So then you have a good reason for that conflict, and there's a good reason to dislike Lane.
Like the worst kind of racism where people kind of...
It's so natural.
Yeah, or they try not to be like openly about it, just to see if how much they can push it.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they pushed it because I think it was a family house. I don't think it was
It's
just them two.
Yeah, but it's never brought up
it's
again.
not
It's not
again.
referenced. There's no racism element to it.
No.
At all,
Yeah.
which is a missed opportunity, I think. A missed
yeah.
opportunity for that character to be a bit more, because then it would tie very heavily into the ending. And in fact, I'll do it now then, because I've saying it. Because then when Lane goes nuts at the very end, because he's basically stuck in a time loop, so by the time he tries to kill the last surviving character in the basement at the end of the movie, he's been there months, I think.
Yeah.
Months? How he's been surviving, who knows? But he goes crazy and tries to kill her, like he's trying to give her to the witch, tribute to the witch or something. That kind of thing. Then... instead of feeling kind of sorry for him, although I think he's incredibly cheesy, which is what I hate about it, I think it comes across really fucking cheesy.
Yeah.
And then we would have this thing where it's like, oh, fuck that dude. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a racist piece of shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's, in fact, perhaps you could also then go further with that and make it so that Lane, when he first disappeared, has been responsible for all their deaths.
Yeah.
Because he's being manipulated. He's been in this loop for so long. He's just a victim,
Yeah.
but manipulated and stuff like that. But ultimately, the hate is that when he goes crazy at the end, he plays it manically.
Yeah.
And it comes across very cheesy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy didn't even know, the main guy didn't even know his sister.
He didn't even know her, yeah.
No. That's a big one for us. Like, there was no close relationship. Not just disregarding the fact that it was his sister. So, of course, you would have some sort of curiosity of what happened to her. But so you didn't talk to your family about this. I'm guessing the police would not encourage you to be doing this kind of trek. If they found you, they'd be like, what the hell are you doing? It all just seems a bit like you're just trying to do this to film it for your own gains, almost.
There's no sense to it. All right, there might be a reason to go there because of the tape that comes his way. However, there's no sense to it because what on earth do you think you're going to find that scouring the forest, the police, the looks and all that didn't?
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem there on that front. But it's not what I have.
No.
I have this. Why aren't there a ton more references and links to the original? I don't get this. Why isn't this more fan service?
Yeah.
Why is this not full-on fan service? Why aren't there little things they find that could be Easter eggs and nods? There are one or two where you can spot certain things, but they're too subtle.
Yeah.
They're too subtle so that you'd miss them, such as Heather's camera in the house at the end. So subtle that I had to rewind it to check. We watched it. But, like, why not this? I'll give you a really good element. They cross a creek. A creek in it. Well, it's a kind of more of a river, really, than anything else. But let's say that's the creek for the first. Have them find the map.
Yeah.
The map, the infamous map that was kicked into the fucking creek.
Yeah.
I kicked that map. You know?
So, if anyone argued the fact that it would have been disintegrated by then, again, play into the fact you might be in
The
a loop.
time stuff. That would be the first clue where you wouldn't really understand it because you'd be like, that would be long gone, disintegrated and destroyed. But let's say it's just wet and damaged.
Yeah.
And maybe written on it is property of Heather, so on the
Yeah.
back of it.
Those
And you
following,
wouldn't know what would be confused. They'd be like, I can't believe this survived, and how is this still around? Then later on, when the time thing comes into play, you're like, oh, and just do stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you find a backpack, just
Show us
stuff
the-
references.
Yeah, show us the creek where Heather stood on that rock.
Walk a lot of the
outside.
same path.
Yeah.
Walk a lot of the same paths.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Come to the same location where they found all the stuff hanging up.
Yeah.
You know, all the stuff. End up at Coffin Rock.
Yeah.
You know, that place. Should have been so much more.
Yeah.
So much more. Yeah.
My next one, I put no creep factor.
Oh, God, no.
just
It's
found
jump
it-
scares, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no. Whereas Blair Witch, it grew. Like the fact that it grew and grew, their tiredness, the fact they got more and more lost, and you kind of empathised, and you thought you start off all happy, they start off all fresh, don't they? Trekking, and it's all fun with the marshmallows and stuff, and then it just drains the life out of them, and they just awful, just ready to go home or ready to die. In this one, it's just like, oh, walk in, just no creep factor for me.
No, for me, it goes from things ain't going well to suddenly everything's going wrong.
Yeah.
With no, like, slow build. Yeah.
Yeah.
The twist. So, the twist. Spoilers. If you've not seen it, I'm going to do it now, so make your decision if you want to continue watching. The twist is that the videotape that he sent, which shows what he believes is Heather in the mirror, is actually the final girl. And it's basically... that's the video that got sent back. It's the same set of events that got sent back. What? For me, it lacks substance, and it raises more questions. The lack of substance is this. What does that matter? How does that tie into really anything? Yeah. What does that mean in relation to what the lore and area is? Why them? Why them? Why her?
Yeah.
Why Heather's brother? Why then? See all these questions that are raised. How? Which got email?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what?
Yeah, it's just...
This is all too many questions about why and how.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I put that fucking drone. Stupid way to go, look, we're modern.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's what it
We
is.
need to throw new bit technology into our found footage. And apart from the one shot of showing you the vastness of the forest, just shit battery on it, you crash it anyway.
Yeah, it ends up crashing at a certain point, and then you get some really dragged out scene about climbing a tree to get it, and that's how someone dies. That's another fucking awful sequence of events there. You can't see piss all.
Yeah.
The drone, I actually believe, was purely so they could do the trailer.
Yeah.
Which is, if you remember, the trailer had the same drone going up high, and then like the shape of the trees made a skull face, that kind of thing. You know, that's what it was for.
Yeah.
Finale is dragged out.
Yeah.
Really is dragged out, and I'm talking specifically about the basement parts and the crawl through the tunnel. We know that's not how she's going to die. You know that. You know by a runtime. You know this is not how it ends. Not as well when she's struck. Oh, I'm stuck. It's just like, oh, it's supposed to make you feel claustrophobic and stuff like that. No, because I've seen that 100 times before already.
Other films have done it better
Yep.
as well.
Yeah.
Because it didn't link it into something else. It's like, oh, just another bit of peril.
Yep.
Yeah.
One more.
I think we doubled up. Bland characters. Again, referencing back to the characters. I can't remember the names.
Yeah,
We've frequently struggled with names throughout this. It's like another little tick of don't care about this film.
Nope.
Like, and then I'm made not to care, like about these teenage characters, or not teenage actually. They're older than the adults.
Yep.
So even more like I don't care. So
My last one. Here's perfect. Can you name any of the Book of Shadow characters? I can. Stephen.
Kim.
Jeff. Kim. Erica.
Yes, I said Kim. Yeah.
And Navina, Erica.
Yeah.
Interesting, that, isn't it? And that's the one. This movie's so bad that it made me like Book of Shadows more. Yeah. That I look at Book of Shadows and go, I'd rather watch you again than Blair Witch. Yeah. Which to me is fucking stunning because of how bad Book of Shadows is. Yeah. Yeah. 10 Things We Hate About Blair Witch 2016. That is it for Blair Witch. Yep. Until the new movie comes out, which, give it time, someone will retread that path. They will, and we'll come to it then. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts, and of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal, what else is life for?